If you're looking for how to fill out your edTPA Task 3 assessment commentary, this is the video for you. Stay tuned. So today I am going to be sharing my screen, walking you through my Task 3 commentary prompts, not my answers, just the prompts, because that's what I have, and giving you some high-level advice as to how to go about answering those questions well, and so that your evidence is cited well. Obviously, my content might be different than yours. If you're new here, I teach math, and I took edTPA in middle grades math this past fall, 2017, and I scored a 62 out of 75. So I share all things edTPA on this channel, and this is one thing I'm sharing with you today. So pull up, either grab a notepad or pull up your edTPA commentary prompt, jot some notes down as we're going, pause and play the video as much as you want, and I hope this is helpful. Here we go. So Task 3 assessment commentary, and I know I've had a few other videos on different tasks. I think this is the first one officially on assessment, so I really hope that this is useful to you guys. All right, so again, always read the stuff at the top. It's very important. Different contents might have different length requirements. And it says to attach the assessment that you used, and you can use 5 additional pages to do that. So you don't have to worry about your 10 pages, also including your assessment. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But let's jump in. Number 1, identify the specific learning objectives measured by your assessment. So this is pretty straightforward, but use the same language that you've used all throughout your plans, your planning commentary. When it asks you what is your learning objective, use that language and make sure that the assessment that you give ties back to the one that you've been using your whole lesson. I mean, it kind of sounds like a no-brainer, but just do that. So stay consistent. Tip there. Okay. And part B, provide a graphic, a table or a chart, or a narrative. You want to do a graphic for your whole class. Be sure to summarize student learning in part D. So that's further down. But right here, all they need you to insert is some sort of graphic organizer that represents the performance of your whole class on that one assessment. The final assessment at the end. You do not need to put in all of your formative assessments, your random little checks, or your tickets out the door. You just need the one original assessment that you're submitting at the end of this commentary. You need that result. So what I did, took all my students' grades. Obviously that's there, but it says in the rubric that it wants more of just student 1 got a 92, student B got an 85. But I would suggest break it down by question. So I would kind of make a table where you've got your students. Obviously don't use their names, just give them student numbers. Student 1, 2, 3, 4, however many you have, all the way down. Across the top, I would have question number 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and a total column at the end that has their total score on the assessment. You might even, if the way you made your assessment, if questions 1 through 4 applied to this part of the learning objective, or maybe if you did a standard part A of the standard, then you could even highlight those. These questions have to do with this part of the learning objective. These questions have to do with that part of the learning objective, and it will help you later, and you'll see why when we get to the next section. But make it nice and pretty. Also, depending on your content, you are asked to choose about 3 focus learners or focus students that you're going to be featuring to show trends in your learning in your classroom. So you might even, on your whole class printout, highlight the students that are focused learners, or put an asterisk at the bottom or something and say, student number 4 is focus learner 1, student number 10 is focus learner 2, and student number 20 is focus learner 3, so that they can see the trends that you are going to be referring back to in the next section. So there is part B in providing your graphic. Okay, part C, this is where we really get into more of the meat of where you might have a larger chunk of text, why it gives you 10 pages in your prompt. So let me see here. Okay, for a second I just had this thought like, am I not recording? That's a scary thought. I'm recording, so here we go. All right, so you've chosen your 3 student work samples or however many you have. Go to your rubrics and see what yours say. Okay, I had to have 3. I've worked with people who have to have 3, but one of them has to have a specific learning need. Whether that's they have a 504 or an IEP or something, look at yours and do what it says you have to do. But overall, when choosing your 3, here are my suggestions. You are wanting to show trends or patterns of learning from your assessment. So you need to choose 3 students of varying levels of achievement or comprehension. So don't choose your top 3 kids that aced it. Okay, choose 1 low performing student, 1 kind of in the middle ground, and then 1 top achiever. And then you'll be able to say something like, okay, so it says, use those 3 students to show patterns of learning for the whole class, okay? And differences for groups or, what does that say? Or individual learners relative to. Mine says conceptual understanding, procedural fluency, and math reasoning, right? Yours might say like comprehension, literary analysis, and something else. Whatever it is, it's your content. But here's the main thing. In this section, you need to be as detailed as possible. Take your big group information, right? You could say patterns of learning can be seen throughout my analysis of my whole class. But you can actually see that Focus Learner 1's response to number 4 shows a pattern of learning for maybe a third of the class or half of the class that did not fully understand this concept. You can see on their work sample, right, that you're going to submit on their work sample, Focus Learner 1 on number 4, that they did not get this question entirely correct. This demonstrates that they achieved understanding on this part of the standard, but they did not achieve understanding or comprehension on this part of the standard. This is a pattern of learning for X% of the class that can be demonstrated here. Okay, that's the kind of thing that they want to see. In this section, you are referencing your 3 focus learners and how they provide patterns of understanding for the whole class. So make sure you have evidence to address multiple all of the parts of your learning objective, whether that's 2 parts or 3, or the standard that you're giving, where you can show patterns of learning for students that did not understand it at all. You can show what kind of misconceptions might have been common between those students that are in the middle of the road that might have gotten a high C or a low B, that show moderately proficient comprehension of your standard, but still lack the knowledge to really excel or to be able to teach other students. And then you can show that group of students that really did understand and showed understanding above and beyond in X kind of way, because you can see Focus Learner 3 in their response to to question number 7 shows a distinguished response, great understanding, and you can clearly see how they understand the standard blank or the learning objective blank. Okay, this section, letter C, will be long. Okay, you got 10 pages, use it well, give specifics, don't make the scorer guess. Okay, and see how mine has this and right here? Make sure that you address those. If they're giving you 3 things and they bold in all caps and, make sure you're addressing all of those, right? You can see that these students have a conceptual understanding by the way that Focus Learner 1 demonstrates their knowledge here. You can show procedural fluency here, and you can show mathematical reasoning here, right? Maybe that's 3 different paragraphs, maybe that's 6 different paragraphs in different chunks, the ones that show conceptual understanding and the ones that don't, the ones that show procedural fluency and the ones that don't, etc. It'll help you make your outline, right? You have to include all of those things, make an outline, finish the drill, get it done, okay? Let's move on to letter D. If a video or audio work sample occurs in a group context, provide the name of the clip and clearly describe how the scorer can identify the focus students. This was not required for my content. I did not have to provide a video clip of an assessment. I could, but then there are like extra prompts you have to answer. And I was able to show all of the learning patterns that I wanted to without that, so I didn't do it. Some people have to. I think you elementary people have to, and special ed might have to as well. So again, look at yours. But if that's the case, make sure you can identify your focus student in your video. Or if you're allowed to submit an extra clip, for example, of a student to demonstrate their learning in a performance way and not in like a written normal test way, then you'll say, in clip number 3 of my student work sample, you can see Focus Learner 2 responding in this way. They're wearing a blue shirt, whatever it is, right? And just describe the name of the clip, clearly describe how they can be seen, because you might be referencing that as well in your other parts of your questions. Okay, for me, I didn't do this, so I just wrote not applicable. Next question. Okay, number 2, feedback to guide further learning. Here's where, if you have seen my other videos and I say there are places where you can score easy extra points, here it is, right here, feedback to guide further learning. Okay, it's just 3 students for the most part. Put in a little extra work and get yourself those extra points to save yourself a little bit of worry. All right, so you're going to refer to the specific evidence or submitted feedback to your students. Mine were paper copies, right? I had my kids' tests. I had basic information written on their test, correct, incorrect, etc., things circled, a couple of comments. Then I had a second piece of paper that I included that I made kind of as a form or a template to provide feedback so that I could check these boxes, right? In my other video, again, it says you provide positive feedback and or the glows and grows, right? Places they did well, places they had room to grow, and at least for one student, an area where they could have a further challenge. So I broke mine out, the different parts of the standard, put little pluses and deltas, delta for change because I'm math, in the sections. And for those 3 students, I would write, great job here. For example, number 4, right? We have both of these documents that you're submitting to edTPA. You did a great job explaining this. Use wording from your learning objective or your standard. You did a great job here. Delta, here's where you could have had some room to grow in number 4 to get full points, whatever it is. Do that for each of those 3 students. You could also do it in an audio file format or a video clip, at least for mine. I could do it in a separate video. Again, I chose not to. I didn't want to have to deal with other video footage and editing. I just did it on paper. If you have to, then you have to. And reference your timestamp. Say, you can see me conferencing with the student at minute 2:22. You can see where I bring up question number 4 and I praise the student for this and this, and I show them room for improvement here and here, right? Give the score the specific timestamp that you're looking at so they're not guessing, okay? I don't know how many of these things they got a grade, but I want to make it as easy as possible for them to give me the score that I want. So tell them exactly where they can find things in your video or in the student work samples and make their life easier and your life easier. Okay, part B. Explain how the feedback provided addresses their individual strengths and needs. Again, we talked about that. How does it address their strengths and needs? Show reference the feedback you gave them, their work sample, what you wrote on there, etc., and talk about it explicitly for each of the 3 students. Focus student 1, here are their strengths, here are their needs. Focus student 2, again, tick all the boxes, do what they ask, don't be vague. Letter C, describe how you will support each focus student to understand and use this feedback, right? This probably goes back to the deltas or the grow areas. How are you going to use it? Are you going to conference with the student? Are you going to meet with them in small groups? Are they going to get a chance to remediate? Are you going to provide a different learning activity that might even allow them to gain some extra points back on their test if they do this and they show that they've grown and they have remediated this skill? Tell that here, right? It does not have to be in your plans. It doesn't have to be shown in the learning segment. You're just saying, how will you help them understand this feedback? Be specific, be specific. Okay, number 3, evidence of language understanding. Okay, this ties into both task 1 and task 2. When they ask you what is your language function, they give you things to choose from, right? Choose one, and your assessment should tie into showing evidence that they can use this language function accurately, and possibly other language demands, which might be content-specific vocabulary or syntax or discourse or other things specific to your content. And they want to know, right, in letter A, explain how and provide concrete examples for how your students were able to use these things. Again, in task 3, you are referencing your assessment, right? Your focus learners, how they provide trends. You are not going back to your video. You're not referencing, oh, you can see here in the video that they do this, unless you're submitting video evidence as assessment evidence. But if not, you are referencing the assessments, the focus students, and how they demonstrate their ability to show either their ability to use the language function or not, right? It's okay if you have students that can't do it. We all have students that can't do it. You're going to get a chance at the end to reflect on how you could help those students, right? Can't reflect if there's nothing to change. So it is okay to have students that did not excel completely, right? Show their things. Again, look, here's the and. Here's the and. Hit all of those things, make them 3 different paragraphs or 6, however you're going to do it, and provide concrete examples, right? Focus student 2 in number 8 shows their ability to execute this language function by saying this. This demonstrates a pattern of learning for the class, for most of the class, whatever. Okay? I hope I'm not feeling like I'm repeating myself, but I want to be clear. This is like all you're doing over and over again in these questions, and they want to make sure it's right. Okay, and number 4, using assessment to inform instruction. Here's where you get to reflect, okay? You're doing this for the whole class and for your 3 focus students. Okay, explain, based on your analysis of young adolescent learning, boom, describe next steps for instruction, right? Again, you can use your patterns of learning and say, based on this pattern of learning I saw, this student needs, these group of students need next steps of instruction here. They need to remediate this part of the standard, whatever. This group of students need extra challenge because they breezed through this whole thing. They all got high A's, and I need to give them an opportunity for enrichment. Here's my next step for instruction, etc. And your 3 focus students, you can give specific examples for them, especially if one of those has to be someone with a specific learning need. Definitely tie that in. If they have an IEP, make sure it fits their goals, etc. Okay, and lastly, you're here, you can do it. Explain how these next steps, explain how they follow from your analysis, right? Why did you choose these next steps? And support it with research or theory. Okay, a couple people have asked, like, what kind of research or theory can you add? I had the same question. What my program coordinator said was, this is not a research project. Okay, they are not looking for you to cite 18 articles and have a full, like, professionally done research paper. But they do want some sort of research or theory cited, which means you do need to have some scholarly article somewhere that is either done a study or they're saying this works for remediation, this works for this content, this works for deepening student learning or engagement with material, whatever it is. Find something and tie it in here. It doesn't have to be long, right? Just tie it in, cite your source, give a couple of excerpts from the article, right? Not too long, just say this here says that this would be a good way to remediate these students, or when you see this trend, doing these things helps students gain deeper understanding. Cite source, call it a day. All right. I hope this has been helpful on filling out your Task 3 commentary. Obviously, I'm speaking fast because I don't want people to have to sit at their computers all day to watch a 45-minute video. You can pause and play this when you're going through yours. Feel free to put any comments down below if you have any questions. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to the channel for more videos every week. And good luck to you all, and happy edTPA!